Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Newsroom. I'm your host, Khalid. But today is the 6th of February 2025. These are the stories that we'll be highlighting during the course of the show. We'll begin, ladies and gentlemen, with the Trump proposal for the Gaza takeover that sparked global outrage. And because of that outrage, there has been a slight backtrack from some members of the Trump's cabinet. But the plan, in fact, seems to be going on, because Donald Trump has again made a statement on Twitter that he says that Gaza will be turned over to the US by Israel at the conclusion of the fighting. Why is this happening from a president who is apparently anti-war? This, of course, led to the ceasefire agreement between both the sides. But why is this change as far as the rights of the Palestinians is happening from the US side? Will be understanding and also seeing the reaction that has come from the world over as far as Donald Trump's statements is concerned, and what the ultimate game plan is as far as the US is concerned. This is going to be our first segment. Our second story concerns an exclusive interview with the Mohammad Zaheer Alam, who's the president of United Energy Pakistan. United Energy Pakistan, ladies and gentlemen, is Pakistan's leading foreign exploration and production company and is a subsidiary of the United Energy Group and International Energy Company. We'll be talking to him about different measures that have recently been taken as far as Pakistan's energy landscape is concerned, as well as the role of the SIFC. Then we'll be talking about the Made in Pakistan exhibition that has begun, a 3-day exhibition that has begun in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. This Made in Pakistan exhibition and business forum is extremely important, and of course the people behind it is the Trade Development Authority of Pakistan and the Ministry of Commerce. Around 137 companies are there in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia who are representing Pakistan in different fields. Finally, we'll be talking about the year that has begun with the warmest January despite a shift towards cooling La Nina. Now, the average temperatures in January 2025 have been 1.75 degrees Celsius higher than in the pre-industrial times. Why is that so? We all know the reason behind it, but we'll be giving more details at the end of the show. Let's begin our today's newsroom, and of course the leading segment today concerns Donald Trump, his remarks concerning Gaza, Palestinian children, the reaction that came from within the US and from outside of the US, and what are the latest statements as far as Donald Trump is concerned. We've been joined by 2 guests online, and 1 guest will be joining us inshallah in a bit. We've been joined by Osama Muhammad Nazzal, who's a Palestinian journalist who joins us from Jenin, as well as Reza Shah, who's a senior analyst who also joins us from Europe. Thank you very much to both of my guests to have joined us. I'll begin with you, Osama. Osama, I'd like to understand, because there are certain statements that come as a surprise to many, including myself. This statement, Donald Trump, first of all, on the 20th of January, on his inauguration, talks about Gaza Strip being a phenomenal location where beautiful things can be done. Then on the 26th of January, he tells reporters on Air Force One that Palestinians should be moved to Egypt and Jordan to just clean out the enclave. Then on Tuesday, appearing with the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, which is the first visit by a foreign leader to the US post Trump's inauguration. He says the US will take over and own Gaza. He says he hopes the Palestinians there would go to other countries. I don't know what that matters, but I'd like to understand your point of view. And Trump also said that the US will develop it economically into the Riviera of the Middle East, quote unquote. How do you see these comments by Donald Trump?
They reflect the supremacist white colonial ideology that Donald Trump and Israeli occupation Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu do have. And if we return to the first term of Donald Trump in 2017 and before, we would see how his advisor at that time, his son-in-law Kushner, before the war in Gaza and before the 7th of October and before all that we have seen in 23 and 24, Kushner stated that Gaza is a seaside area and it can be a big investment project that the United States like to put its hand on. And the statement of Trump is just an extension or a completion to what Kushner stated many years ago. So this statement comes in the context of the hegemonic and colonial mentality that the American administration has, coupled with the ideas and the proposals of the Israeli Zionist occupation government. He is a real estate dealer, and he thinks that he can increase his money by investing in Gaza as if it were an American real estate belonging to him, and also using the natural gas on the coast of Gaza.
All right, coming to you, Reza, I'd like to give you a little update as far as these statements are concerned, which are a little bit old, but today again, Donald Trump has restated his plan for a US takeover of the Gaza Strip after the backlash that he received. Despite the backlash that he received on social media, he says, and I quote, "Gaza will be turned over to the US by Israel at the conclusion of fighting. Palestinians would have already been resettled in far safer and more beautiful communities with new and modern homes in the region." How do you view these developments vis-a-vis Donald Trump? Does it come as a surprise to you? And are these mere statements, or is this a new rhetoric?
Thank you, Fiumai, for the show, and the brother in Janine. Assalamu alaikum. And everything that he said, I will second that. And I would like to expand upon this. When you say Trump is coming and is bringing a new policy, or there's a new vision, there's a new strategy, there's a new pathway towards the Palestinian issue, it's not. There is a Israeli intelligence report from the 23rd of October. 13th of October, so literally 1 week after 7th of October, they had a proposal that was had three options. Three options were: option number one, that Gazans should be ruled by the Palestinian Authority. So this is not something new. This is already a part of a policy. So now it seems like that when Trump is coming forward, all he's doing is now increasing or propagating the expansionist plan, just like the brother stated, and is part of the exceptionalist American policy, which then feeds into the greater Israel project. Since Israel's exception, it has at every day, every week, every month, every year, expanded every inch of its territory, just like right now. So therefore, we see the onslaught within West Bank right now taking place, and that is part of the annexation. Gaza is going to be occupied and controlled by America. This is a plan that has a policy paper. Just people have to go and research, go onto the internet. It's an intelligence Mossad policy paper dated on the 13th of October, 2023. So whatever we're seeing on TV right now, the sound bites, the propaganda is going on overdrive, is part of that policy. It's time to implement. So yes, this is the plan. And the other two options are not realistic because, number one, Palestinian Authority themselves have put forward that we will fight Hamas. If Israel could not defeat Hamas, and along with the whole of the coalition, what chance has the Palestinian Authority? So this has been laughed off.
Farhan Bokhari Saab, senior analyst, joins us in the studio. Thank you very much, sir, to have joined us. You have heard our two guests talking about these statements by Trump, and I added the latest statement that was posted on social media. Jared Kushner, his son-in-law, is the one who proposed that a year back. And this is something that he has reiterated again. He says we will make it into an international, unbelievable place. I think the potential of the Gaza Strip is unbelievable, and I think the entire world, representatives from all over the world, will be there and they'll live there. He also said people of the world. He mentioned that when he was asked during question hour by the media exactly concerning this statement. Is this a statement? Is this a rhetoric? Is this a policy statement? Is this being backed by Israel? Because apparently this happened during the visit of the Israeli Prime Minister to the United States of America. And if so, what is the future of the Middle East?
Thank you. It could be either one of those categories. It could fall into either one of those categories that you've mentioned. Either it's a plan or a matter of speculation or whatever. But what we can be certain about is that if Donald Trump, the US administration, pushes ahead with this plan, with, of course, the support of the State of Israel, Middle East is going to be more unstable. There's going to be a lot more bloodshed. This is not going to be a walkover. The Jordanians and the Egyptians are not going to open the gates to their countries to resettle the Palestinians, the Gazans. So all in all, I'm sure there's a plan, but Donald Trump, by making this announcement, has demonstrated that he's a very poor student of history. The US in recent decades has gone into Iraq, has fought a hugely costly war next door to us in Afghanistan, by some estimates almost $1.3 trillion. And coming out of both of those situations, the US doesn't have even a modest success story to show. So given Donald Trump's track record, don't be surprised if there's another one of those terrible ideas on the table. He's already picked trade wars with various countries around the world. He's threatening to take over Greenland.
Panama
Canal, even Canada, although Canada is less serious, but he's gone public and declared it as a future 51st state of the United States of America. But this one is far more serious. Even after the death of 50,000 innocent Palestinians, and that's a huge number.
And that number could be even more than 60,000 as per other estimates, because there are tens of thousands that are buried under the rubble.
Right. Even if after that the American president, the incoming American president, doesn't show the wisdom to understand how futile further use of force is going to be in this situation, then so be it. But it's going to get more nasty. The immediate fallout is going to be in the Middle East. Europe certainly will not go with Donald Trump's plan. Across Asia as well, there's going to be more than just mere pockets of skepticism. It will be more than that. Other countries elsewhere, there'll be.
Will the US be put on one side? Will it be solitary as far as decisions like these are concerned? Because if there's such opposition that you say, and there has been opposition by so many countries, and I'll come to that as well, but in the wake of such huge opposition, do you feel the US will continue doing whatever it is doing and stand alone in its decisions?
Look, in the 20th century, up to now, 21st century, whatever, the first quarter that we've lived through, there are examples of brutal and severe US miscalculation. The US, in the true sense of the word, has never conclusively won a major clash with countries outside its border. Go right back to the Bay of Pigs fiasco in the early 60s, Cuba, Vietnam. After that, since the revolution of 1979, we've been hearing about a coming US attack. There was also a botched US attack in the early 80s. For a long time, there's been, periodically there's been speculation. There have been rumors of a US attack on Iran, which is still not materialized. Look, I think at the end of the day, if the Americans are looking at Gaza as an easy target, I think they're going to be sadly and heavily disappointed. This is not going to be a walkover, even after these 50,000, more than 50,000 innocent casualties.
That is so true. It's not going to be a walkover, and I think a lot of people around the world believe that as well. Osama, coming to you, on Wednesday, the press secretary of the president, US President Caroline Leavitt, said that Trump had not committed to US troops on the ground in Gaza, and that the people living there would be temporarily relocated, quote unquote, while providing few of the details about a plan that has now been widely rejected by so many across the world. What, in your point of view, is going to happen? Because there is There are statements that are neither here nor there. Trump is moving on one direction. Some people of his cabinet are moving in slightly another direction. Then you've got the Israeli defense minister who's ordered the army to prepare a plan to allow voluntary departure of residents from Gaza. How do you see all these details?
The Palestinian people have a historical experience, as you know, that in 1948, when the Western colonial powers, mainly the United States and the UK, decided to establish Israel at the rubble of the Palestinian villages and towns, they told the Palestinians that you are going to return in a few days. And some people left their belongings in their houses thinking that they would return. 76 years passed, and these Palestinians are still refugees. And it is important to note that the people in Gaza who Donald Trump is planning to uproot were uprooted. They and their forefathers, their grandfathers and the great-great-grandfathers from the land of 1948. So this is not the first time that they are attacked by the imperialistic Zionist colonial project. So if the Palestinians are forced out of Gaza, it is known that they will never be allowed to return to Gaza, because Gaza is going to be a colony for the Zionists. And we know here in the West Bank, where I'm speaking from, most of the Zionist settlers in the settlements here in the West Bank are coming from the United States. So this what Trump is planning for. Of course, his plan is based on the inputs and on the vision of the Israeli Zionist regime officials. But shall the Palestinians fail and leave? Never, because the Palestinians lived under the Israeli bombs for 15 months and they lost everything. Everything they lost. And they said, we never leave and we are holding on to our land, to Gaza. And if Trump wants to solve the problem of Gaza, it is very easy. Just allow these refugees to return to their homeland, to Safed, to Haifa and Jaffa, where Israel is established.
All right. Reza, adding to all of this is the reaction that has come from across the world. But I'd like to begin with the Arab countries. The Kingdom of Saudi Arabia has taken a very strong exception as a reaction to it, and it has officially come out, despite the fact that Donald Trump was saying to reporters, oh, you'll hear good details from the kingdom very soon, as far as his decisions are concerned. King Abdullah of Jordan, who is scheduled to visit the White House next week, there are rumors that he might not go because Press Secretary Levitt indicates that the monarch may change his mind and accept Palestinian refugees from Gaza. But you know, this is something that is again in the air. A Qatari official says it's far too soon to discuss who would control Gaza, with a fragile ceasefire between Hamas and Israel still in its preliminary stages. We all know that Qatar and Jordan have been important partners as far as the ceasefire deal is concerned, and that is what also is happening as we speak. Further talks are going to be held as far as the second phase of the peace process is concerned. Under all of these circumstances, what happens to this ceasefire deal?
This ceasefire deal itself, when you say ceasefire, I'd like to first correct the term. Ceasefire is when two parties cease to fire if they're on equal footing. There was no equal footing here. So at the moment, the genocide has paused, the annexation has paused, and the last 1.5 years that we've been seeing of innocent civilians and the killing of Gazans and the wiping of Gaza off the map, that's paused, okay? So that's paused. And I think where I'm trying to lead to is, I think we will see then, if you look at the statements, when you say they're making these statements, they've made these statements before. How effective were these statements? How effective were any of the meetings that were held in UN or any of these global institutions? Nothing. Israel was allowed with impunity, with a complete free hand, to do as it pleases. And just like their brother says, since 1948, if not way back. This is part of the greater Israel project. It's going to expand. It's an expansionist policy. Nobody's going to stop it. The Gulf monarchs are only there because they have Western support. If they start opposing, their own chairs or the thrones that they actually sit on will be problematic too. And there are assets of the West in these countries that may cause civil strife in them countries and put the powers that are there at the moment in problems, as we've seen in the Arab Spring previously. And the main aim is to take West Bank, which they've now even quoting on the media, Samaria and Judea. So you're not using that internationally recognized name as West Bank. You're using biblical names as part of the Israeli project, and hence Gaza. So all of the rhetoric we're seeing on the media right now is part of a pre-planned policy, and that is being driven by these new leaders now. There's a new impetus. European powers, they can't do nothing again. No one could do nothing. And if anything, everybody is part of this plan. It's a Zionist expansionist policy. And there's only 2 countries, Axis maybe, they have been weakened. They have to regroup, re-strategize. But right now, the onus is with the Zionist country, occupation, and the Zionist control of the American government and decision-making powers.
All right. That's, of course, your take as far as this is concerned. Other countries have also come forward. The United Kingdom's Foreign Office Minister Annalise Dodds tells the House of Commons that the United Kingdom will oppose any effort to move Palestinians in Gaza to neighboring Arab states against their will, adding that Palestinians need to determine the future of Gaza. And the UK government considers the enclave an integral part of the future Palestinian state. The British Prime Minister had also reiterated the same. To add to that, we've got the Chinese statements that have come from the Foreign Ministry spokesperson, who say that Beijing firmly supports the legitimate national rights of the Palestinian people, or the China's UN ambassador, who says that Donald Trump's Gaza displacement proposal is beyond comprehension. We've got Spain's foreign minister, who rejects the suggestion by Israeli defense minister that Spain should accept displaced Palestinians from Gaza. Colombian president, Brazilian president, Iran's foreign ministry has taken a very strong statement rejecting the shocking plan laid out by President Trump, quote unquote. I'm just saying what they have said. Malaysia's Ministry of Foreign Affairs has also condemned this proposal, saying that Malaysia opposes any proposal that could lead to the forced displacement or movement of Palestinians from their homeland. Turkey's defense ministry has also said at a weekly news conference that the country was completely opposed to the exile, displacement or expulsion of Palestinians from Gaza. It's just not one part of the world that is coming out with reactions, but more or less different parts of the world are saying exactly the same thing. What's your take on that? Do you agree with Reza that these statements are mere statements and there is no implementation whatsoever as far as the the action side of these statements is concerned, or is there more to it?
I think it's very hard to make a call on that matter, because Donald Trump does have a history of unpredictable behavior. We know that from his previous tenure. And therefore, we cannot discount the possibility of the very worst coming out of this. What is clear, given the reactions that you've just shared on screen from different countries around the world, what is clear is that America is going to be standing alone in this exercise. It would not have more than maybe a small number of friends, tiny states who for part of a nicety might support the US in platforms such as the UN General Assembly and maybe even the Security Council. But ultimately, the US is going to go it alone in this exercise. And this is going to be a very messy exercise. The US will not be able to lean on to anyone possibly beyond Israel for support. So then the question is, what happens next? Before October 2023, there were signs of a coming rapprochement between Israel and Arab states. I think that moment is gone, and I think that's going to be dead and buried, especially if Donald Trump moves ahead with this position that he stated, even if it's for rhetoric, as Reza Shah said earlier on, even if it's for rhetoric, I think it's terrible rhetoric. It's not well considered, not well thought out, because the question is, what good is the US hoping to gain out of this pompous rhetoric? That's my question. And for the life of me, so far I haven't seen anything that could suggest even remotely that the Americans are going to even mildly, symbolically benefit from the US president, the recently elected US president, taking this position in public.
That is true. It is unfortunate, and so much is happening as far as the Middle East is concerned, and the way rhetoric after rhetoric is being developed, we don't know what's going to happen in the next couple of weeks. We can only maybe wait with bated breath and see how the world comes together or does not, as far as this latest strategy vis-a-vis Donald Trump and Palestine or Gaza is concerned. Thank you very much, sir, to have joined us. Farhan Bokhari Saab, senior analyst in the studios and online. Thank you very much to my brothers, Osama, Muhammad Nazzal, as well as Reza, to have joined us, to have discussed these latest developments. We'll be, of course, talking to you in the days to come as well, because this is an issue, as Reza pointed out, is this is an ongoing war that seems to be not coming to an end anytime soon. But I'd like to end by our Foreign Office spokesperson Shafqat Ali Khan Saab, who in a weekly briefing said Pakistan will continue to support the Palestinian cause. Pakistan's position on Palestine is clear. It supports a two-state solution for Palestine along the pre-1961 borders, and any proposal to remove Palestinians from their heads is contrary to justice. The land of Palestine is the place of the Palestinians. This is where I rest my case. Let's move towards our second segment, ladies and gentlemen, and that concerns the energy landscape of Pakistan and, of course, the efforts that are bearing fruit as far as the SIFC is concerned. We have an exclusive interview with Muhammad Zaheer Alam, who is the President, United Energy Pakistan, talking to our correspondent Hassan Gilani. Let's take you there.
Recently, the government of Pakistan has taken a revolutionary step under which 30% of the new exploration of gas is allowed to be sold to private companies. This could be done by the private companies themselves. Initially, that was being sold only to the state-owned gas companies, but that was creating some amount of problems, some amount of issues with regards to payments to these companies. But now, it is expected that as a result of this fresh initiative taken by the government of Pakistan, with of course the active and critical participation from SIFC leadership, is going to not just fulfill the need of the gas in Pakistan, but also going to help reduce the import bill, which is of course faced by Pakistan on account of the import of LNG when there's shortage of gas in the country. As a result of this revolutionary step, there's going to be multiple benefit for Pakistan and Pakistan's economy. Now, to discuss this further, we have with us in our program today Mr. Muhammad Zaheer Alam, who is the President of the United Energy Pakistan. Welcome to the program, sir.
Thank you very much for having me.
First of all, tell us what is going to be the benefit of this extraordinary revolutionary step of allowing the gas companies to sell nearly 1/3 or 35% approximately of the future gas exploration to private companies.
Well, as you might know, gas market in the developing countries, they are the monopolies, and monopolies have their own inefficiencies. In Pakistan, the same situation exists. All the gas that we produce into the country that is sold to SNGPL and SSGC. They are the state-owned companies, and the price that the producer get, that the gas seller get, and the consumer get, they are tightly controlled by the government. There are no market players, and there's no market liberalized market that really help people go to the market directly. This initiative that the government of Pakistan has taken to allow the gas producer to sell 35% of the gas from the new discoveries to the private sector through competitive bidding is a very welcome move. This is the first step in the right direction to liberalize the market and help develop the gas chain where all the market players take their due risk.
Will this new step affect the supply of the gas to the state-owned companies?
Well, the state-owned companies have been getting gas from the gas producers, and during the last few years, because of accumulation of circular debt, the investment in the new gas fields have really gone down. When we haven't really found the new gas, the reliance on the imported LNG has increased, and that has really created the circular debt that I was talking about earlier. It's about 2 trillion plus rupees circular debt that has accumulated during the last few years. And that has impacted the liquidity of the gas producers, and they haven't been able to really put money back into the exploration, and that has really reduced their ability to put more gas, local gas, into the market. And that is impacting, in fact, the gas chain at this point in time. And due to this, the new exploration effort has been hampered.
Now, one of the main issues that has been in Pakistan is the availability of gas at higher rates. Are we expecting that as a result of this revolutionary step, the availability of gas could be ensured at comparatively cheaper rates?
Well, LNG is about 2 to 3 times more expensive than the domestic gas. Domestic gas, the gas price is around $5 per million BTU. Whereas LNG, that comes at a rate of something like $13, $14, $15 per million BTU. And the $5 that the local producer get, half of it goes back into the local economy in the form of taxes, in the form of royalties, in the form of windfall levy, in the form of reinvestment into the new projects. So essentially, the net impact on the balance of payment of the new gas is about $2.5 versus the flight of capital of something like $14 per million BTU. So there's a huge delta between this local gas when we net it back for all the factors that I talked about, and actual hard capital flying out of the country. That is like more than $10. So essentially, with reduced gas prices, the consumer in Pakistan is going to get relatively cheaper gas as compared to imported LNG.
Now, if you look at the import bill of energy, it is scarily high. It runs in billions of dollars. So are we also expecting that as a result of this particular initiative, the import bill of energy is going to substantially come down?
Well, the main focus of increasing domestic oil and gas exploration is to do the import substitution. And with the import substitution, we should really be able to reduce the import bill, which is more than $20 billion per year. So I expect with increased pace of exploration activities, and we're finding more new oil and gas fields, the import bill should really come down.
Another very thorny and very chronic issue in Pakistan has been the issue of circular debt, which is taking a heavy toll on Pakistan's economy. How instrumental or important is going to be this initiative in terms of helping resolve the issue of the circular debt?
Well, first of all, when the gas price, when you really start getting the gas price and the producers start really having their cash flow position better, with the improved local gas supplies, we should really be able to put more reliance on the domestic gas supplies rather than the imported LNG. With imported LNG going to the domestic consumers, the circular debt keeps on expanding. With reduced supplies to the domestic consumer from the imported LNG, we expect that the circular debt is going to reduce, and that will help improve the position of the gas companies as well, the SNGPLs and the SNGPL and SSGC. My expectation is that with improvement in the cash flow position of the gas companies, they will be able to discharge their liabilities in terms of the outstanding receivables that they have to pay to the gas producers.
Okay, now let's talk about the role of the Special Investment Facilitation Council in this regard. SIFC has been instrumental in making possible this step. How do you look at the role of SIFC, of course comprising Pakistan's civil leadership, Pakistan's military leadership that made possible this initiative? How has been the role of SIFC in this regard?
So gas market, the way it was before this initiative, that was sending a very bad message to the local investor as well as the international investors. With this liberalization in the gas market, my expectation is that this would really be seen as a welcome sign, as a step in the right direction. And SIFC has played a very significant role. They have, in fact, played a crucial role in helping crystallizing this policy initiative. And they have really worked pretty hard in trying to really get it through the approval process. And I expect that this would really be seen as a kind of very strong message to the investors that Pakistan mean business, and this Pakistan is open for business.
Okay, now this was exactly my supplementary question, because see, now when the world looks at Pakistan taking such bold steps, such extraordinary, unconventional steps, what message does that send across the international community, the international aid agencies, international investors, that this is what Pakistan is doing in its energy sector? How does that help in terms of bringing investment in Pakistan?
Well, the investment in the oil and gas sector, it is risk investment. It's not the normal investment. You end up spending like few tens of millions of dollars, and if the well goes dry, you don't get any penny back. So for the risk investment, the confidence and the trust of the investors on the Pakistan economy and Pakistan fiscal regime and its stability is absolutely important. If we really see this as a kind of stable environment where you can harvest the returns over the longer period of time, like 20, 25 years, when the gas production comes back to the investor, that really helped them get a kind of sense that this is the right place to go and invest. With stable environment, with stable gas price, with stability coming from the stable institution, and SIFC helping us in this direction, I'm hopeful that this will help improve the confidence of the investors, and they will come back to Pakistan. The investors, during the last few years, most of the foreign investors left Pakistan, and it would be a very challenging task to bring them back.
Now, achieving self-sufficiency and self-reliance in energy has been a dream of Pakistani policymakers. Are you expecting that this initiative is going to pave way for Pakistan at some point in time achieving complete self-reliance, self-sufficiency in the energy landscape?
It is a significant step. It's a first step in the right direction, and that is towards opening up the market, liberalization of the market. Once the market becomes liberal, people can really do the business based on their mutually agreed terms and conditions. That really give people a very good incentive to really look at the market dynamics and take a decision on their investment. This is not controlled by the government. This is controlled by the market forces. And people can really take a chance on the market forces rather than this is getting controlled by somebody they can't really do a lot about.
Now, one question. What actually prompted this step of allowing the private companies to sell their 35% of exploration to private companies? Because it seems it can either be out-of-the-box thinking, or it can be market pressure, or it can be just the need of the hour. What actually prompted this initiative?
As I said earlier, this is prompted by accumulation of circular debt. When the gas chain was not liquid, based on the previous experience, people have to think something outside the box. And this was one of the thoughts that came to the people's mind. Why not really allow the gas producer to go and directly sell it to the third parties through a competitive, transparent process? And the important thing would be that this process goes through a very transitionary way of really development. You have to really go through a process that help people have a faith in this. This is not no market abuse. People really take it as a kind of fair competition, and the right kind of market sentiment goes back to the investor.
Now, just towards the end, as you said initially, that there has been a monopoly of the state-owned companies on the gas companies on purchase of gas from private companies. What was their initial reaction when they heard of this initiative? Was there opposition? Did they have any reservations? What actually was their response?
They were a bit apprehensive because if their premier customers, they really go out of their chain, their liquidity is going to get impacted. If they're only supplying gas to the consumer, where their sale price is tightly controlled by the government, and they are not been able to recover the cost of gas from those consumers, then they would definitely go through a difficult phase. My sense is, if we really go through a graduation process, don't really expose them to a harsh market, and they go through a kind of phase environment, they should really be able to survive this and turn into into a mercantile function, but they act as a gas transmission and distribution company where they earn their returns through tolling charges rather than they really go into a gas market supply and demand situation.
Mr. Alam, thank you very much for taking out time for PTV World. Appreciate your time.
That was Mohammad Zaheer Alam, President of United Energy Pakistan, talking to our correspondent Hassan Gilani. And of course, you have seen the details regarding Pakistan's energy sector, what needs to be done, what are the lacunas, how things are moving forward, and how the SIFC is also slowly and steadily building up Pakistan's economy through these different initiatives that it is taking in different sectors. Let's come to our last two stories very quickly. The first concerns the Made in Pakistan exhibition that is going on, this 3-day exhibition that is going on in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Now, the Trade Development Authority of Pakistan and the Ministry of Commerce have showcased a different kinds of Pakistani products that are present there to tap into the lucrative Saudi market. This is also a very interesting way to connect Pakistani businesses with international buyers and producers who could maybe invest and maybe cooperate with all of these companies, because there are around 137 companies that are showcasing their products from Pakistan in this 3-day exhibition. Our Minister for Commerce, Jam Kamal, called the event a milestone in Pakistan's Middle East Reconnect strategy and said Pakistan was committed to enhance its economic relations with the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. He says this policy serves as a bridge for economic diplomacy, fostering business-to-business interactions, and of course paving the way for long-term economic cooperation. Lastly, ladies and gentlemen, let's come to talk a little bit about climate change and the year 2025. The year has begun with the warmest January despite the shift towards a cooler La Nina, and we've all seen it. We've seen it even in Pakistan, where it hasn't really been that cold, or it hasn't rained as it should have. The average temperatures in January have been 1.75 degrees Celsius higher than in the pre-industrial times. This continued streak of extreme global temperatures, despite a shift towards the cooling La Nina, is very alarming, and this has been highlighted by the European Union scientists yesterday. El Nino, of course, we all know, peaked around a year ago. The global average temperature in January, as I told you, was 1.75 degrees Celsius higher. But the organization says that La Nina has not yet fully developed, and the world is currently in neutral conditions between the two phases. Let's see how things move along. But as far as climate change is concerned, things are really not moving towards a better state, and this is just evident from the increase in the temperatures that we have seen in the month of January alone. And all the different changes that are occurring in the world, including what we are seeing in Pakistan as well, is evidence of the fact that climate change is a reality, and the world, all countries of the world, need to come together to forge a strategy to tackle it once and for all. With that, we come to an end of today's newsroom. We'll see you inshallah tomorrow with new stories and segments that pertain to us, you and Pakistan. Stay safe. Allah Hafiz.